frame?
We are in the frame. There we go. All right. I appreciate you doing this. This is fun. You said you wanted us to keep going.
That's it, yeah.
Well, I am, so. All right. Well, I'm going to do your trick of the 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. So, 3. Hello, my name is Tara Madden Dent. Thanks for stopping by our blog today. We'll be discussing Blogging 101 for educational leaders. Today with us, we have Dr. Bret Simmons, the Associate Professor for Management, correct, at the College of Business?
Yeah.
Associate Professor of Management. And we'll be discussing the parameters, the building blocks, to design a blog for academic leaders, educational leaders, faculty, and administrators, so that they can make the transition into a 21st century learning community and start to disseminate their research and their findings and have a communication with professional networks. So thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Well, Bret, if you wouldn't mind, would you share with us when and why you started blogging?
Right, so I started blogging in about April of 2009. And really I had jumped onto Twitter before I started blogging. It was in response to the budget cuts that started rolling around in 2008. That really rocked my world. It alerted me to the fact that my paradigm of what education was supposed to be no longer held true. I mean, when we talk about firing professors and cutting our salaries, that's something I never saw. And so I determined to jump into social media to learn how to do it. I really wanted to explore the space and try to reinvent myself. And so I just jumped in, and I'm a management professor, not a marketing professor. So I didn't do it to learn anything about marketing. I did it as a strategic decision to try to be more self-competitive and try to be part of, maybe the evolving new paradigm. So I jumped into Twitter first, and in Twitter that's where I learned I needed to start blogging, because everyone that I was connecting to on Twitter had a blog, so that people could click back to their blog and see what it was they were really interested in. And so, I started blogging in April 2009. I did not know what a blog was, did not know how to blog, had always looked down my nose at blogs. My first blog post was ugly, but I was determined to do it, and I knew I had to write my first blog post to be able to write my second, to be able to write my third. And I understood even then that as long as I didn't quit, I'd eventually learn how to do it. And that was my goal, was to learn by doing. And now here I am several years later, and I've had an immersion experience. I've done it all these years, and because I've done it, I really understand better now what the capabilities of these networks are. And I really also understand better now today than I did in 2009 what my value equation is, because I've had to write about it so much.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess that's the purpose of this blog, is that maybe we can learn through your experience and how to become bloggers ourselves and incorporate that within increasing our faculty competitiveness to reach our students more effectively. So would you share with us just some basics about blogging? How academics have asked me, how long should a blog be? What should the tone? Should it be casual versus formal writing?
Yeah. So the most important thing, when I got in the beginning, I thought the appearance of the blog is what really mattered. That doesn't matter at all. And your credentials do not matter at all. What really matters is that you write interesting content that is helpful to some community. So as you know, in our class, I tell you to define your value, what it is you do uniquely well to help other people address opportunities or solve problems that matter to them. And when you begin to speak toward that community, you'll build community around the stuff that you write. The blog post doesn't have to be long, 3 to 5 paragraphs. I prefer concise blog posts over long blog posts. It should always be conversational. Just like you were sitting having a cup of coffee with someone. Tell them something they don't know. Tell them something that could be very helpful, and do it in a conversational way that they can understand it. You're not speaking to an academic audience. You're not writing for an academic audience. You're writing for an entirely different audience, that needs the dissemination of the information that we have. They don't read our journals. Most people don't read our journals, so it's a tremendous opportunity to be able to reach a larger audience. Again, the tone is conversational, the length is 3 to 5 paragraphs, sometimes longer. Always start with a really good, catchy line and end with something catchy at the end. Always end with a call to action, if nothing more than, what do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below.
So a little bit more casual. It doesn't have to be APA, grammatical mistakes. This is a casual discussion and dialogue, which is kind of counter to what a lot of educational leaders have been trained to do.
But that's not your audience isn't necessarily the people that read your journals. I mean, you're trying to reach out to a broader audience. And you have a different tool. This is not a journal. So because you have a different tool, there are different rules that go with the tool as well. If you write in APA format and don't speak in first person and don't speak conversational, no one will read your blog. And you'll quickly become discouraged. So you have to write as if to draw people into a conversation, because that's ultimately what you want to have. You want to host a conversation at your blog site around things that you find interesting, and you're trying to find other people that are interested in that as well, and that you meet each other, and you have this conversation at your site. You'll go have those conversations at their blog sites as well.
That's excellent. It makes complete sense. Now, if some professors have approached me with blogging and they have said, my tenure, my employment, my promotion is all based on publications. Blogging is not a publication, so what are the reasons to do it and spend my time?
Yeah, that's a great question, because my colleagues could care less that I blog. They don't value it at all. So really, ultimately, blogging is something that you do for yourself. For me, it's the best decision I've made in the last decade, because I've personally learned more about my craft than I'd learned previously. When you step into the classroom and teach, you know that you can reach a point where you kind of rest on your laurels and you're riding on what you've already known. When I first started blogging, I thought, well, this is really easy. I'll just blog about the stuff I've taught for the last 10 years. Well, that lasted for about 6 months. And then I ran out of stuff to talk about, and I had to go get new material. So I'm constantly sharpening my own saw by digging into stuff that I might not have dug into before and trying to find different ways to reach and share with my audience. So, a couple of years later after blogging, I am much more clear now about what it is I believe in, what it is I think about it. It helps me in the classroom. I have much more clarity in my story that I'm going to tell. And you know this. I heard one of the best things I heard when I was a young professor was talking to the president of the Academy of Management. Someone asked him, what's the secret to teaching? The secret to teaching is you have to have something to profess. You've got to have a story to tell, and you have to have a story that you believe in. And students pick that up right away. If they know that you really want to change their mind about something, they gravitate toward that, and they know if you're just going through the motions. So when you begin to blog, really you're blogging around your core story. What is it you really believe about your craft? And that's going to improve the teaching of your craft, which helps you in tenure. And it's also going to help, for me, it helps improve my research as well, because I've had to go out and read so much new research, and I've had to read so many new books. And quite frankly, I might not have done that before if I wasn't pressing myself towards doing that. And if I had done it, it would have been in a much narrower space. And now I'm much broader now because of it.
It seems like blogging could be a nice way to demonstrate your research line, to narrow your focus, that would then support publications as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention reaching out and contacting other scholars, leaders of your industry, to then start maybe co-collaborating on publications or just building that network.
Right.
So, yeah.
Bob Sutton's my favorite blogger, and he's been blogging for a long time. And he uses his blog exactly like that. When he has a book that he's going to write, he begins to blog around some of the ideas he wants to put in his book, because he's testing them. He needs to know if there's a market for that idea. You don't want to spend a year on an idea for which no one will be interested. You know, at the end of that time, you want to make sure that people are interested in that and that it matters and that it's something that's important. And a blog gives you a way to test that before you ever put it down in writing.
You get that feedback
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of tweak and edit
Right.
and revise.
Right.
That's excellent. Well, I guess in short then, we have some of the basics that we can use. When you are starting your blog, think about what Bret has suggested. Keep it relatively short, 3 to 5 paragraphs. Add a little bit of your own personality into the tone. Hook them in the beginning and leave them with a question at the end to engage a dialogue. It doesn't have to be too fancy, and would you recommend our educational leaders to stay away from paid advertisements? And
Yep. I stay away from paid advertisements. I do have I do have Amazon Associates, so I read and recommend a lot of books. It's a great way for me to have content to blog about. I get free books all the time. Once you begin to blog about books, authors send you their books all the time because they want you to blog about their book.
Sounds great.
Because it gets the word out. So I do have an Amazon Associates account, and it pays me, maybe $15 a quarter. And I always reveal that I am an Amazon associate, that I did get this book free from the author. Otherwise, avoid the AdWords. Your audience doesn't come for the advertisements, and you're not going to have a big enough crowd to really make any money, so it's just a distraction. Some of you are going to hate this. Don't worry about the grammar or spelling errors. Clearly you want it to be as perfect as it can be, but the standard in blogging is to publish. There's no more in-between person. There's no more gatekeeper. And so you have to begin to publish content. And you'll catch those errors. My most recent blog post, there was a spelling error in it. I caught it about an hour later. Because in my process, I move to publish, I get it out there, and then I read it several times over. And my audience is really good about telling me. They'll send me an email and say, hey, you missed this here, and I'll fix it. Everyone does it. Bob Sutton still makes mistakes. But he doesn't worry about them because he's trying to get ideas out. And people understand that. People understand that it is about the idea, not the perfection of the grammar. If you post a grammatically correct blog post that's absolutely boring, no one's going to care. And so really you need to post something that's really interesting, really provocative, really important. If it's got a grammar or spelling error in it, people will forgive you for that.
Excellent. All right. Well, then there you have it. Relax and start blogging. And if you have any questions, go ahead, respond to this blog, or email me at tara@taramadindent.com. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. Thank you, Bret. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cool.
Did that do it?
Yes, that seemed perfect. Now, just want to make sure that everything was A-okay on the tech side. 13 minutes.
It's fine.
You think that we can just roll with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.